Indians love their whiskey, so much so that India consumes more whiskey than any other country in the world. Nearly 1 in 2 bottles of whiskey is sold in India. The average Indian consumes 2.6 liters of whiskey per capita. And so far, most of it has been Scotch, Japanese, Irish, American and other imported whiskies. But all that is starting to change now. Indians are increasingly choosing homegrown whiskies that are made in India over their international counterparts, to the point where sales of premium imported whiskies have started to slump. Scotch and US whiskies, two of the most loved imported whiskies in India, have witnessed a sales growth of just 7% for the year 2023 compared to 33% for Scotch and 70% for US whiskies in the year 2022. Irish whiskies growth also down to 40% in 2023 compared to 81% in 2022, while Japanese whiskey grew just 3% in 2023 against a 57% growth in 2022. While the slowdown in the sales growth of imported whiskies is being attributed to supply-side constraints, especially for bulk Scotch, the growth in the popularity and variety of Indian whiskies is an important factor. Premium and super premium brands of imported whiskies have still performed well, but it's the value or entry-level brands that are taking a hit, and that's where Indian whiskies are cashing in, because it's that segment or that price point of whiskies that mostly compete with Indian whiskies. However, the growth of Indian whiskey is coming from a move towards premiumization as brands release high-end bottlings and single malts to rival Scotch whiskey makers. In the recent past, Indian whiskies like Piccadilly Agro's Indri, Pernod Ricard's Longitude 77, Diageo's Epitome Reserve and Godawan have caught the fancy of the average Indian whiskey drinker. And not just blended whiskies, Indian distillers are also going all out with the launch of India-made single malt whiskies as well, like Radico Khaitan, which has introduced brands like Rampur and Ranthambore to a rapturous reception among Indian consumers. Data from the Confederation of Indian Alcoholic Beverage Companies suggest a tipping point where Indian single malts hold over 53% market share in India. Around 345,000 cases of the 675,000 cases sold in India in 2023 came from Indian distilleries. The rise of these brands is part of a larger cultural renaissance and a newfound confidence in the consumers' Indian identity and roots. And they're no longer choosing Indian whiskies because it's easier on their wallets. Sales of Radico Khaitan's premium whiskey brand Royal Ranthambore has grown by 300% in the last financial year. A clear sign that Indians are choosing Indian whiskies for reasons other than price.